NBA totals for Friday. This is our total segment here on the NBA. Let's take a look at today's games. We got 5 of them on the board, whole slate of games out there. We're just going to look at 5 though, and break them down. First one we got here, let's just jump right into it. We got Miami, Toronto. The total's 200.5 right now. That's at Pinnacle Sports. I'm going to go under that total. When we look at these two teams, you got Miami been scoring at a pretty decent rate, 101 points per game, Toronto 104 points per game. But still, we find these two teams, their foundation is on defense. We got Spoelstra, who's a really good defensive coach. Toronto's been a really good defensive team, and they're both allowing, well under 100 points per game. So I think we're going to see more of that style, and I think we're going to see actually some lower totals as the season continues, as teams start to, put the clamps down on some teams and start to, find ways to get stops. That's the way it has to be in order to be successful in the NBA. These teams met 10 times last year. They had a really, really good 7-game series in the playoffs. 6 of those 7 games went under 200 points. Now, yeah, there's a little different personnel for these two squads this year, but still, we're still looking at a game that's probably not going to be really up tempo no matter what they've been doing so far this year. Miami on the season, they're shooting just 43.8% on the season, but they're allowing under 40%. That ranks first in the NBA. Good Miami defense. Toronto, they're shooting 47%, but they're allowing just 45.3%. So 2 good defensive teams as well. We look at Miami, they're averaging 87.2 attempts per game. But the game is in Toronto. I think Toronto's going to control the tempo, and they're allowing just 79 attempts per game. So I think they're going to be able to, slow Dragic down a little bit and keep the total to a minimum. At least keep the pace to a minimum. I mean, if they shoot lights out, there's nothing I can do about that. But according to the statistics here on the percentages and the attempts, I think we're going to see under that 200.5. Although I could see why odds makers would set it that high. All right, next game up we got is Phoenix and New Orleans. We're going to go over the total of 212.5. That's at Heritage Sports right now. It's also kind of across the board. We got 2 teams that play no defense and go really fast. And it's kind of similar to that Indiana-Milwaukee play we had yesterday. And both these teams are proficient enough to score. I think we're going to see a really high total. Last season, 3 out of the 4 went well over this total they had of 212 today, 212.5. And I think we're going to see something similar to that today, even though New Orleans is a little bit thin right now. Phoenix is averaging 104 points per game, but they're giving up 112. New Orleans are averaging just 98, but they're giving up 106. I think Phoenix is going to be able to score. Neither of them are shooting at a really high percentage, 2 of the lower percentages in the league. But still, you got Phoenix averaging almost 90 attempts per game, and New Orleans, of course, with Alvin Gentry, they're averaging about 89 attempts per game. Phoenix ranks 4th. New Orleans ranks 8th. I think this is going to be a really fast-paced game. If these guys can just knock down some shots, defensively, neither of them are particularly that good. So look for both these teams to be able to score and see a really fast one. Next one up, we got 3 more to go here. We got Los Angeles, the Clippers versus the Memphis Grizzlies. And I wavered on this one for a while, but I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under the 198. Even though the way Memphis has been playing a little bit different this year under David Fitzdale, but this is still, their foundation is on defense, and I'm hoping, after the way they've played this beginning of the year, they're going to get back to that, and they should against the Clippers. We got Los Angeles right now. They're playing great defense. Really surprised they lost to OKC the other night, but they're allowing just 91 points per game. That ranks first in the NBA, but yeah, they did play that really low affair versus OKC, which kind of boosted their defensive statistics. But still, across the board, good defensive team. We look at their attempts. You got the Clippers are averaging just 85 shots a game. Memphis just 84, but they're not allowing that much. Both of them are allowing just under 82 attempts per game. So this should not be a really up and down affair. Last year we had their totals ended up at 186, 215, and 194. And I just think it's going to be under. Neither of them are scoring at a really high rate. Clippers at 100 per game, Memphis at just over 97. So with the attempts and the way these two play defense, I think we're going to see under this 198 again, though, unless they shoot lights out, in which there's nothing we can do. But according to the pace and the statistics, what I got going on here, I believe we're going to see under the total. So under the 198 for that one. We got two more here. We got Portland Trailblazers, Dallas Mavericks, where I'm going to go under the 206. And this reminds me of a play I had the other day in which I had Cleveland on the over on a game where the statistics really didn't say that. And this is kind of the same thing in this one. And that happens sometimes where you just have to make after doing this for years and years, where you just have to make the play you think is right. This is the play I think is right. You don't have to agree with me, because Portland, they're going nuts. I mean, they're averaging 110 points per game and giving up 115. And Dallas, I mean, last year under Carlisle, they went really fast. You look at their totals from last year; they ended up at 192, but then went into overtime. A lot of points, 226, and then went into overtime, and then 212. Yet odds maker and the makeup of these two teams is not really that different, but still odds makers have, you got Harrison Barnes for Dallas, but really otherwise not really a big difference. Still set it at 206, and I think the main reason for that, if we are going to mention a statistic, not just a gut play, is I think Dallas is going to have to control the tempo. And right now they're allowing opponents just 80 attempts per game. That ranks 6th in the NBA. And for them to hang with Portland, they're going to have to do that. It's simple. They're going to have to, because Portland wants to get up and down. But I think Dallas is good enough to play a good enough defense against them, defend the perimeter against a Portland team that does like to shoot the three, and keep this under the total of that 206, which does seem a little bit low. So don't be surprised if this line goes up. But I'm going to stay with the under at the 206 here, and I think that's just the better play. Also, as well, you're talking about a team in Dallas, they're not an offensive juggernaut at all. I mean, my goodness, we got. Gosh, Dallas, I mean, right now they're 24th in assists. They're really not moving the ball, really stagnant. They're just not playing good basketball. And then we got Portland here. 1 second on this statistic. I mean, yeah, okay, so Portland, and also another thing about the Trailblazers, sorry, I digress. I was going over a lot of numbers here. They scored a total of 217 points in their opener versus Utah. Every game since then has been 220 or more. And now odds makers come out with this game at 206. Something seems a little bit off. I think the smart play is on the under. That's where I'm going. All right, last play of the day. And again, you can agree with me or not. It's up to you. All right, but these are my plays. And last one we got here is San Antonio and Utah, and I'm going under the total of 186.5. So that's going to be 4 unders and 1 over on today's slate. And the reason I'm going under is because I'm so mad that they went over in that last contest. No, that's not really true. They went over in that first matchup. I had in the under, but Utah shot lights out the first half. It was just really ridiculous. The pace of that game was slow. Both teams got up 76 attempts, and that's what we're going to see tonight. More of that when, like, Utah played Dallas the other night. That sort of game. They're just not fast-paced teams. When you look at them, you're talking about Utah. They're second in the league in points allowed after the Clippers, and they're also second in opponents' attempts per game. And then you got San Antonio that ranks 4th in both those categories. So I think we're set up for the grind out game that we should have had probably in that first one. So look for probably a pretty tight game in this one. Utah might be a sleeper this year. Don't sleep on them. They play good defense. They control pace, and I think that's what we're going to see tonight. And this should be a low-scoring one here. So under the 186.5. Okay, quick recap. We got Miami, Toronto under the 200.5 at Pinnacle Sports. Phoenix, New Orleans over 212.5. That's at Heritage Sports. Los Angeles Clippers and the Memphis Grizzlies under 198. That's across the board at SBR. Portland Trailblazers, Dallas Mavericks under the 206. And that's across the board at SBR. And San Antonio and Utah under the 186.5. And again, that's across the board at SBR. So that's same number at all the sports books. So check SBR for the best odds. See where the numbers go. But those are our 5 plays for today. And I wish you luck on your picks today.